Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to the Ironbark podcast, and I am back after more than probably a month long hiatus. I'm going to say I took the summer off. I had a beautiful summer vacation. It was the best summer, it was a wonderful summer. I should probably do an entire retrospect on the summer on all my adventures and journeys, but sadly, that is not why I decided to make this podcast episode. Clearly, you have clicked on this episode based on the title, and you can tell we're going to talk about Canada. That's right, we're going to talk about Canada banning, what did they ban? Hiking, camping, fishing, you name it. They banned the outdoors. The outdoors has been outlawed. I don't know if you've ever seen a population density map of Canada, but most of the fucking place is outdoors. The entire fucking place. It's outdoors, it's inhospitable, it's very dangerous, there's animals everywhere, there's boulders, there's lightning, there's landslides. It's a terrible place. I love it. I love going there. I love hiking. I love adventuring. I'm smart, I'm wise, I'm resourceful. I know how to survive. Many of you do who listen to this podcast also know how to. We like to take calculated risks that we believe we can overcome the adversity of the outdoors and come out a better person at the end of the day. However, so it wasn't all of Canada. It was basically just the East Coast. In particular, it started in Nova Scotia. Now, this is interesting because a lot of people didn't fucking like this. They didn't fucking like it a lot. And I get it. I get it. We're going to dig into, does it make sense or does it not make sense to ban hiking, camping, fishing, going into the woods of any kind? We're going to dig into it. So, initially they said, we're banning the outdoors, as I've already stated. We're banning it. You can't go out there. Heavy penalties, thousands of dollars. If you step outside, if you fucking step into the woods, son, we are going to fucking arrest you and we're going to make you pay thousands and thousands and thousands. And we will financially ruin you. That's what they said. They were fucking serious. That's how you know they're serious. They ain't playing games. That's how you know they're serious. When people are serious like that, I tend to follow the rules. I just go, well, fuck me. I expect everyone to follow the rules. I expect everyone to be law-abiding citizens. If you want to invoke change, the way to do that is through political means. You talk to your representative, you send them an email, you send them a letter, you be polite and respectful, you like lobby government, you get your friends and your family who feel the same way, you do that stuff. You may even do a peaceful protest, and a lot of people don't like that. They're like, oh, protests go unnoticed, they don't get any media attention, blah blah blah. Well, that's the right to protest. I believe in lawful protest. I don't believe in any of that garbage. If you listen to this podcast long enough, you know I hate the environmental protesters. I don't hate them as people. I just hate the protest. Especially when they're violent or destroying things or property or polluting. It doesn't make any sense. I do like people having the right to express their civil right to, like a peaceful protest. And I also don't really like it when, people are standing on roads and stuff. It's dangerous. You never know who's going to come barreling through there. You're also, to some degree, screwing over the economy a tiny bit. And this isn't about the trucker convoy. Okay, I'm not getting political. Don't fucking worry about it. This is two separate fucking issues. I am getting political. But it's an interesting... there's people who work as like nurses and doctors and teachers. And do you really want to be like, oh, fuck them, like ruin their day? Like, no. You love those people. You like those people. You get along with those people. You're friends with those people. You probably are one of those people. It doesn't make sense to kind of... You're basically like... How do you... Like slapping your fellow man, if you want to put it that way. Like you're all in this together. I know that's... Oh, fuck. God damn it. That's not what I meant to say. But you know what I mean? Like you're... The people you're directing the message to are the people in power, not the people around you. Though you do want them to be well informed and aware too. But that's why things like podcasts exist. And hopefully that's why you're listening to this podcast. I'm not off to a good start right now, and I know a lot of you are like, fuck this guy, what is he going? You might like the direction I'm going in. You might like it. Hang on. Just hang the fuck on. Give me some time here. It's like peeling off a band-aid. Okay. So they banned it. They initially banned it. They said fires are really bad this year. That was their thing. They said the fires are bad. We don't want more fires. We're banning this as a preemptive caution. This is a preemptive caution. Okay, so this is where I think they had to sit down at a table with probably some people that didn't know fuck all about the outdoors. Maybe a couple did. I think maybe one person may have a little bit. And they kind of had like this brainstorm session. Like, forest fires are getting kind of bad. Or we think they are a potential threat this year. What are some of the things starting forest fires? Well, let me look here. Let me type it in Google. So he's like, they probably went on like to the piss or on lunch break, and he threw this in Google. Top causes of forest fires. And you look at it, number one, it's fucking arson. Like there's people that light them on fire on purpose, like complete psychopaths, right? Like that's the biggest problem. Now, if you want to solve forest fires, you can look at those stats. How about you raise the penalties and fines for people responsible for fucking arsons in the woods? Because no, they will literally do it. It is a thing. People have been arrested. They do it. They fucking do it. Especially if they have a political ideology that is somehow linked to like, I don't know, like climate or like forests. You'll see it a lot near elections where like all of a sudden these fires will start and people will be getting arrested for it. And no. It's a fucking thing. Trust me, it's a thing. Look at the stats. The stats are out there. Arsons are number one. I'm not making this shit up. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Go on Google, type in number causes of whatever forest fires. Arson's number one. Number two, this is where they have a point. You might not like it, but they have a point. Number two is campfires. But arsons is like more than double campfires. Like it's like a way bigger problem. So they did nothing to address arsons, but they did something to address something that's half the problem, which is campfires. Now, I think this is where people get angry. This is where people are going to get mad. This is where people are going to get frustrated. And I completely understand that. You can't just pick one thing and not the other. Now I understand crime, like arson, is a federally dictated thing, and the punishments are like done by the courts and the federal government. So the provincial governments don't really have a say in that. So that's probably why they went with the second thing. Because campfires, the provinces can control and they can't put in fire bans. Hold on, I've been ranting. Give me a sec. I need a sip of tea. Okay, so where was I? So a lot of the time, there will be fire bans. And people kind of hate fire bans, but guess what? When it's fucking smoky and hot in the middle of summer, and people are actually kind of pissed because like their favorite park or their favorite hike caught on fire, from my experience, a lot of outdoors people abide by the fire bans. They do abide by the fire bans. Now, here's an interesting thing. A few years ago, all of Alberta had a fire ban. The fires were really fucking bad. They were just like, you would be in a town, because the way it works is somewhere really far up north is burning, and then the winds are coming down and it blows through all the cities in that trail of wind from where that fire is. It comes in through that town, and they're just like, what the fuck? And like your eyes will start to burn, and it can be like 12 hours away. It's problematic. You remember New York when Canada had fires? So I lost my train of thought. Lost my fucking train of thought. Oh, so the fire bans. Yeah, you don't really need to tell people not to have fire bans when there's fire bans, because people, they collectively go, yeah, it's pretty fucking bad. It's agreeable. Everyone's on the same page. It's not contentious. There might be some assholes that try to do it anyway. You can't control everybody. You can't make everyone good people or for the collective whatever. But generally speaking, in my experience, the hunters, the hikers, everyone that's outdoors is like, yeah, the fires have been bad this year. I don't want to be responsible for this. I don't want to lose all my hunting ground, all my crown land. They're pretty reasonable. They're pretty responsible. So that's probably why they banned it. And they're banning campfires or camping. They're like, oh, campfires and camping hand in hand. It gets kind of weird because you can camp without having a fire, and that's pretty common. Oh, what did I want to say? Right. Alberta, full on fire ban. The national parks, Banff, you could still have a fire. Banff is in Alberta, but it's federally kind of governed because it's a federal park. You could have fires. So this is interesting. Because it's such a big tourism hub, they kind of gave it a green light. But also the fires in Banff at the campgrounds are very well maintained and regulated. They're in steel pits. They literally have like a guard going around in circles like constantly. It's kind of like, it's not rustic camping. It's very like hokey camping. So it kind of makes sense, right? Like there could be immediate interventions if a fire gets too high or whatever. And I already know there's people, you never know, a coal could blow up into the air and land fucking over somewhere outside the campground. Generally, they don't when they're small. Yeah. So that's just a little interesting little side bit I went down. I'm sort of rambling now. But anyway, so they're all probably gathered around this table and they're like, oh, yeah, it's camping and campfires, they go hand in hand. We got to ban that. That, if they would have stopped there, people probably would have been kind of upset about it, like they get kind of upset about fire bans, but they get it. But this is where people started to like not get it. And like they're like hiking. They're kind of like, well, what the fuck? Like, how is like my rubber boots on like a dirt path going to start a fire? Now, I think this is where the leaps of like reasonability sort of started to crumble. It's like, well, you never know. Like a hiker could go in the woods and start a fire. He could get cold and want to start a fire. I don't do that. You know how much of a bitch it is to carry like water, let alone like stuff for fire. I don't need to. It's the middle of summer. It's not the middle of fucking winter. I'm not starting a fire to stay warm. I'm not cooking a meal. I'm eating. They eat granola. We eat granola. You don't cook granola and beef jerky and like seeds and fucking raisins and dried fruit. It gets people who actually hike were kind of like, what the fuck? And the reason they were like that, and this is the thing, the people at this table never did a fucking hike in their life. You know what I mean? They just watch like movies and they're like, oh, they're hiking. They're having a little fire up by the ridge. I think this is where people started to fall off like greatly, right? Well, what if they're having a cigarette along the hike? Most people who smoke don't really hike, but there could be someone who does. Most of the popular thing now is vaping. The popular thing now is, pouches. They put the Zins in their mouth. Everyone likes the Zins. That's the thing. So smoking like actual cigarettes, it's not cool anymore. It's not the cool thing people do. They want it to be flavored. They want it to be half robotic like their phone. They want to be able to charge it from their phone. This is what the people like now. I don't know. I don't make the rules. People who still smoke cigars and cigarettes, they're too old to go hiking. They're too out of shape. They're not going to go up a fucking mountain. They're not going to fucking do it. So it's also kind of very reaching. I've never personally seen anyone light up a cigarette on the trail. Man, maybe someone might light up a joint, might smoke marijuana. Possible. That could happen. So maybe there's more of a potential for that than there is for a cigarette, ironically. Weed is legal in Canada, so there is that, but I digress. On a hike, you're kind of doing it to feel fit. Like usually, even if someone who's a smoker is going for a hike, they're like, oh no, I want to be clean today. Today's a cleanse. Like, I don't know. Anyway, you really start to reach when you go into hiking. Now, this is where everybody fucking falls apart and completely gets off the agreement train with this whole thing. We're going to ban fishing. It's in the fucking water. It's in the fucking water. You're surrounded by the shit that puts off. I've never seen a forest fire ignite water on fire. And don't get into like an oil rig situation. These lakes don't have that shit. They're not polluted like that. These rivers aren't like that. You can't go fucking fishing. You can't go fucking like it. like on the fucking beach. Like, okay, I know beaches were still open, but it doesn't make any sense. Like, even after a massive forest fire in Jasper, if you look along the banks of like the rivers and stuff, they were still kind of touched, but due to just like the moisture in the air from around that river, generally they're kind of good. Like, I think they bounce back a little bit, and even some of them look like they're untouched. You really fucking lose people at the fishing thing because it's in the fucking water. You're like, maybe you're in a boat, maybe like, you know what? This might be where they have, okay, in their defense, I gotta represent both sides. They're thinking you're going to cook the fish on the side of the fucking river. Maybe they think you're not going to pack it out. Maybe you're going to have a little fire and cook fish. That's something people have done. Some people do. But once again, if you have a fire and cooking ban, now cooking can get controversial because you have to eat to survive. But if you tell people, hey, pack food, that doesn't require cooking, you might be good. You might be golden. You know what I mean? So this is where people start getting really pissed. It's like, what in the absolute fuck? What the fuck? People are just losing their minds. They're losing their minds over it. So when something like this happens, the first thing you have to say to yourself, how bad are the fires? Is it justified? Let's go look at the data. So I jump on the Google machine. I go, province of Nova Scotia historical fire data, and it gives you the fire data. I could be wrong with how I read it, but at the time when I looked at it back in like August, it looked like there was only 2 active fires, and they weren't out of control. They were like under control. They had dots. What did the dots look like? One was green, one was yellow, and then there was like a bunch of other gray ones, which means they're like extinguished or under or something like that. And then I looked at forest fire data from the years prior. It didn't seem to be that much of an outlier. Like, now this is where you need to go and do your own research, and you need to go and look up your own data. Hard, factual data. And this is from the government's own page. And you make the comparison yourself and you say, is the fire really bad? Is it not really bad? Is in comparison to other years, is it bad? Now, I could be interpreting the data wrong. I could be misremembering it. But from what it looked like to me, it didn't seem that bad in comparison to other previous years. This seemed like a new attempt to deal with a long-standing issue that they don't know how to really resolve. But maybe it's not even that much of an issue. Maybe it's just a natural way of things. I don't know. People online. This isn't me saying this. This is people online saying this. People online are saying it's just about climate change agenda. They're saying things about, the COVID lockdowns will be applied to the climate lockdowns, which is a new thing. And I don't think anyone really wants that. But here is the thing. I don't want that, but we live in a representative democracy, and there is a significant portion of the population in Canada that do want that and elect representatives who have that in their platforms, who answer questions to somewhat of indicating that would be their stance. And then those people get elected by the majority of Canadians. Don't get mad at me for saying that. That is what the majority of Canadians want. It's just a matter of fact. That is just what the majority of Canadians want. I don't agree with it. You probably don't agree. Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. It doesn't really matter. When you live in a democracy, that's what happens. The majority's point of view or perspective on life is the one that reigns dominant. Now, there used to be a thing back in the day where you represent the majority but still protect the minority. It gets very conflicted and convoluted when it gets like this. Now, I understand Nova Scotia. It's a conservative leader provincially. But there's this weird thing now where when you look at conservative platforms and liberal platforms in Canada, they don't really look too much different. They look basically the same. There is no real differentiation between a conservative and a liberal in Canada anymore, at least from my point of view. And now you can only kind of sort of vote for politicians. Alberta's premier, which is like the governor, for those listening in the States. I'm gonna use American terminology. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is. Alberta's governor is very much more populist. She's conservative, but she's like also much more populist and kind of represents the people, where the other politicians are typically more, how do I say, they're like, instead of being populist, they're more like, not industry, but like institution. Like they're sort of represented more by like institutions. They're lobbied more by like large groups like unions or, labor, I don't know, conglomerates, that type of stuff. So now the clear choice on who to vote for isn't as simple as like red or blue. And here's the analogy I like to use. You get to choose between a red or blue politician, conservative or liberal. And in Canada, it's reversed. In the States, it's reversed. The liberals in Canada are red. The Republicans or conservatives in the States are red. And then blue in Canada for conservative, and then blue for liberal in the States. It's kind of confusing, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Some people want Coca-Cola, the red drink. Some people want Pepsi, the blue drink. But guess what? They're both a sugary, carbonated beverage, and perhaps people just want water. They just want water. They want a nice, healthy drink. Sometimes it seems like you can't get water when you go to the restaurant anymore. That's all I'm saying. It kind of sucks. Alberta seems like they're still drinking water, so that's good. Anyway, I digress. I'm sorry, a little bit of a political rant. People really fell off with the fishing. They really came off. They were kind of like, no, this is too much. It's too much. It's way too much. Yeah, like it was just way too much for people. I was looking at the data. I remained unconvinced. I looked at like even Alberta, even though Alberta's a much larger place. At that time, they had at that time, they had current year active wildfires was like 53. Current year extinguished wildfires was like 923. The current year total was 976. And it was just like, it was like crazy. And like, just looking at the map, I get like, it's like a bunch of green ones, a bunch of red ones, there's purple ones, it's a lot. And then Alberta doesn't have any consequences like that. And now when I say that, I know some of you guys that support, I don't even know if it's left or right anymore, because I have left friends who don't support it. They're like, no, man, that's the man reaching too far. And then I have people on the right that are like, they're like, oh, they should abide by the law. Like, that's what they said. That's what they get. And both points kind of make sense. But then I also had left friends being like, no, like the fires are crazy. And then I also had like, it went all ways. It went all ways. To me, it's not even like a left versus right issue. It's just like your perspective on, well, there's pattern. Here's the thing, like when forest fires are bad, you don't really need to tell people get the fuck out or don't go near there, because you physically just fucking can't. Unless you're like suicidal or something, or you're like some kind of like massive risk taker, and then you're jeopardizing your own safety, and then someone has to come save you, and then you're jeopardizing their safety. But most of the time, they're not even coming to save you. Like, it's just like they told you've committed suicide. You've taken your life into your own hands. Godspeed, hope you come back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's usually what the state of mind is. And then, I don't know. It's just weird where it's like, at what point do you say nanny state? You have to protect people from themselves, and at what point you say people have the freedom to decide and take their lives into their own hands. Because it could get to some point one day where it's like, oh, X amount of people go missing hiking every year. We have to ban hiking. Hiking's not safe. X amount of people die in car collisions every year. We should ban cars. You can just do this indefinitely, or people die from alcoholism or alcohol consumption related, diseases. We have to ban alcohol. You see that stuff, and then I don't know, then you see like safe injection sites, and it's like, well, then you're enabling people in that way. And then you also have like doctor assistants. You have like the MAID stuff in Canada, where it's like you can end your life if you want. And I'm not here to get political, because like at the end of the day, it's so convoluted. Both sides are kind of picking and choosing how they view life, liberty, and freedom. So you'll have some people that support like MAID, which is doctor assisted suicide, by saying your life, like your choice, take it in your own hands. If you want to end it, that's up to you. Then you have people that say like, no, life is precious. You can't take it away. You have to live in pain or whatever, blah, 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 blah. And then you have people that say your life is precious. You can't go hiking. It's too dangerous. You know what I mean? Like you can spin it any way, and it gets kind of like out of control, and you can kind of twist it to whatever narrative you want. And I think people, whatever political party is backing a certain thing, they just back it no matter what. And they don't take a time to step back and realize my rational and reason and logic for liking or disliking abortion or doctor-assisted suicide or hiking or whatever the case might be doesn't apply equally to everything. Like there's a Jim Jeffries joke. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this on the podcast before, where or is it Jim Jeffries? I think it's Jim Jeffries. It's like, he's making fun of conservatives, so conservatives forgive me, but you'll understand the point I'm trying to make here is that he's like, he does like a redneck voice. He's like, I believe all life is precious unless it steps on my property. And then like, you know what I mean? That's sort of dictating a little bit of the sort of contradiction in people's beliefs on life or perspective on life. Like, and I know there's nuance to that. Like people will say like an unborn child versus like a grown adult. It's two different. I know there's tons of, I'm not going to get into the nuances of it. It's a discussion I don't even know the answer to. And it's just like, it's just crazy, right? It's just crazy. And then I don't think people take time to reflect. But then I think this is what a lot of you are probably thinking right now. You take every case by its own point, and you apply your own. In this instance, it's okay to take life. In this instance, it's not okay to take life. In this instance, and then it gets really weird when both sides are determining when and where it's okay to end life, or when it's okay to, like the death penalty, for example. Like right now, Canada is like talking a lot about this like protect your castle legislation that the conservatives want to put in, where you can shoot somebody that enters your home if it's whatever. That's an interesting thing. Like that was never an issue in Canada. Why is that an issue now? Like, you know, like, I don't know, home invasions, I guess, kind of happened. There's histories of them. It's a weird thing. I don't like it. It's like, why is that coming up? There's a lot of things that are like kind of weird. Why is that coming up? So it started off with this. So after people were very critical of like the no fishing, no hiking, it doesn't make a lot of sense. You saw this other spin come out, and they were like, well, it's not so much that we think you're going to start a fire. It's just that if a fire starts and you need to be rescued, we don't have the resources to save you. Statistically, like if you get lost in the woods, no one's coming to fucking save you, because no one knows you're the fuck out there, because you don't got a cell phone signal. So I don't know. That's kind of like weird. Like it was a weird thing to say. But this is an admission, and I don't think politicians realize what they're saying when they say this. What you are in fact saying when you say we don't have the resources is saying our economy, our civilization, our society in Canada doesn't have the resources to deal with its problems. We do not have the resources to deal with our problems. That bothers me. That bothers me a lot, because why don't we? Why don't we? And it's weird. It's just a weird thing. It's a weird fucking thing to think about, because it's like, are we first world or are we second world? Like, what are we doing here? And I'm not saying we should have like a ton of resources dedicated to rescuing a bunch of people in the bush. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is an admission that we don't have the resources, the admission that like healthcare is not doing great because we don't have like it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing. Everything is a weird thing. I don't know. I don't have the answers. A lot of you are tuning into this podcast and you want answers. I don't have the answers. All I know is that I know nothing, and that's a quote from Socrates, and it's true. I don't know anything with 100% certainty. That's why everything you listen to on this podcast, you have to take with a grain of salt. You have to do your own research and come to your own conclusions. Maybe some things I say to you point you in a direction, and that direction is good, and it leads to more facts and data. And you can come back and you can leave a comment and say, hey, this is why you're actually wrong, or this is why you're incorrect, or this is what you didn't understand at the time. And I will look at it and I will go, okay, cool. But it better not be an article written by somebody else with an opinion like mine, or just the opposite opinion of me, or whatever. Because I got shit for brains. That guy's got shit for brains. It's just how it is. It's got to be research data, basically, primary source data. And then even then it has to be sort of analyzed to be interpreted to make sure it was done correctly. You even maybe like a paper, double blind research study, some of those, and then you have to kind of evaluate it yourself, which is hard, especially if you don't have analytical thought process. And I know some of you just need to be told what it is and then you roll with it. And if it's agreeable with your beliefs, then it's true. That goes for both sides. So in conclusion, everything's fucked. I don't know what to say. What I do know what to say is we live in a representative democracy. You elect the people who you want to make the rules, and then when those rules happen, you have to follow them and abide by them. And if you don't like them, there are official means, legal official means on how to sort of argue or debate with them, try to have them amended or rectified or rethought. And that's the proper way of doing business. It's just the proper way. This, like, I don't know. I saw some like nonsense and it didn't make any sense to me. Like I saw a guy, he like walked, like I saw like a YouTube reel or Instagram reel. The guy like walked into the bush and he's like, yeah, I'm going to get $1 million fine now. And like he did it intentionally, like in front of law enforcement. And then they like issued him a fine. And it was kind of just like, well, like, one, it's proving it's real. But two, it's like, why would you intentionally like do, like, you're creating a lot of problems for yourself. And I don't know if that's like a good thing, or it's not a good thing. Like, you could have took that time to write your local MP or something, like your local representative, and be like, hey, this is happening. I don't like that. Like, if every person wrote a letter to their local representative and said, hey, I don't agree with that, as there was as many people like shit posting on social media about it, I bet you there would be an actual like effective change, because they would realize like, oh, we got this one wrong. The public that elects us actually doesn't agree with this. Or they might you never know, they might double down and be like, no, we made a decision, we're sticking to it. We don't want to look stupid, because there's people that do that too. I don't know. There's a lot of conspiracy theories and stuff online. If you believe it, sure. I'm not quite there. I think a lot of things is just like incompetence. I think there's just people that never hiked before. They look at a simple stat sheet and they just go, oh, fuck, like ban fishing. And I don't think they take the time to really think outside the box. They just see the problem as fires. How do we stop fires? They don't see like, okay, well, when we ban all this stuff, what are the repercussions of that? They probably didn't even think that far. They probably didn't even think people would be upset. They probably thought, oh yeah, I'm good, makes it. And here's the interesting thing. In Canada, they don't have the Constitution. They have a Charter of Rights. And the Charter of Rights is interesting because it's like this thing of like guaranteed rights, but then they can sort of be like, in an emergency or whatever, they can sort of be like taken away, which kind of makes sense if it's like an emergency, because it's like all hands on deck, like get the fuck out. But it's like, this was like preemptive to a potential emergency. It's like there could be a fire. It was kind of weird, like fire season. It's like it's really hot and it's been dry. Like fires could be possibly really bad. There could be an emergency. It's like preemptive to an emergency. It gets really weird, right? It gets weird because you can kind of be like, yeah, I get that. It makes sense. But then at the same time, you're like, but the emergency doesn't actually exist yet. it gets weird, right? That's a little kind of like, and this is where it divides people. Actually, I think this is like kind of like the deal breaker. It's like you either agree with that or you don't, and where you fall is kind of like where you fall on the stance and point of view of this whole thing. I don't know. It's a tricky world. It's a tricky. So like preemptively, so they have like a charter right, freedom to mobility, to move and travel anywhere throughout Canada. Presumably, this means into the trails and parks and blah 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 blah. But then they kind of took that away and said, no, like you don't have that charter right. So now they're sort of infringing upon the right to mobility in Canada. And there isn't an actual emergency. There's a possible potential of an emergency. And the question becomes is this, I don't know what the word, constitutionally correct, or is this charter correct? Like, you know what I mean? Like, is it? Will the courts decide on this? What would the courts rule? What would the Supreme Court of Canada rule in regards to that? It gets kind of interesting. Now, I think there's a provision for like emergencies. Now, what is an emergency? Do they just have to say, oh, this is an emergency? Because that could also be the thing. If they just declare it an emergency, even though there is no fire, but it's like fires could easily happen. That's an emergency, and they declared an emergency. Maybe then it's okay to take. I'm not going to say okay. It's legal to take away the charter right as it's provised in legislation. Maybe. Did he ever say it was an emergency? That could be also like a key sticking point if it was ever challenged in court. Was it ever actually declared an emergency? It probably was. They declare emergencies for everything. So who knows, right? Like, who knows? You would know if you're from there and you've been paying attention to this. You probably know the answer to that. That's a key point. It's a key point. I don't know. There's a lot going on out there, man. There's a lot. So at the end of the day, do I agree with it or do I not agree with it? It's a toughie. I know that's going to bother a lot of people. So I am pro freedom, pro mobility, pro making your choice, but I'm also pro democracy and pro law abiding. So this is what it kind of boils down to. Canadians get what they vote for. You get what you vote for, Canadians. You get what you vote for. You voted that in. You voted that person in, and he's conservative. So this isn't a conservative, like, if people, like, a lot of conservatives think the anti-freedom stuff is like liberal, but it's kind of like, it's wherever, it's whatever at this point. It's just whoever's making decisions. It's just down to the individual. You guys elected that guy. He got in. He made that ruling. That's it. That's how it works. If you don't like it, you can write them, the local MP. Hopefully that makes difference. You can attend meetings, all that stuff. Maybe start like a petition. But that's all you can do. And I know that ruins the summer because, let's say, the ban is through the summer. Maybe Parliament's not open for the summer. Sorry. There's nothing really you can do. In the interim, it's going to take years to resolve whether that was a good thing or bad thing, or to see the public response to it. And in the meantime, that summer is gone forever. I don't know what to tell you. I know that's like your home and stuff like that. But when I didn't agree with the state or provincial politics of a certain place, I moved. And I moved to a place where I felt like they were more in line with my political beliefs or my, recreational activities, the outdoors, that kind of sort of thing. Home is where the heart is. Home is where you make it. And I know you got family and stuff and all that kind of sort of thing, but that's just, I don't know, man. That's the way the cookie crumbles. It really is. Like, I believe in democracy. I believe in, I don't know if representative democracy is necessarily a full-fledged system. Obviously, there's ways where, it falls apart. but I believe in it, and that's the system we have, and that's how it works. So you get what you vote for, Canada. If you don't like it, I don't know, vote for something else, and then maybe hopefully that's better. And I know a lot of people think, well, it's not gonna be. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Move if you don't like your jurisdiction of where you're at. If you don't like your state or province, you move. If you don't like, if you like Texas gun laws, but you live in California, you might want to move to Texas. Like that's just, it's just the fucking way things are. Like states and provinces are kind of sort of becoming their own little countries in ways, because people geographically where they are and where their resources are, or what the cultural background is, will have a different state of mind and opinion on how things should be in that area. Like people on the coastlines probably care about fishing. People who are landlocked in the middle of the USA probably don't give a fuck about coastal fishing or know anything about it. So would you want to live in a place that made laws for coastal fishing when they don't have a coastline to deal with it, and then they're just against it because arbitrary reason? And then no, you like wouldn't, you would move. Like that's just basically what it boils down to. I don't know what to tell people. Like it's getting straight. Like on principle, do I agree with it? Like not really, because you compare other provinces that have forest fires, they don't do that. Historically, they didn't do that. It didn't seem like the greatest idea. I think maybe they should have started slowly with the fire bans. Maybe they did. Maybe they even fucking did that. I don't know. I didn't know that. I didn't see the lead up to it until they just banned everything. I think the ban all just came at once and sudden. As you can tell, I'm very well researched in this topic. That should tell you everything you need to know about what I'm saying. But yeah, like I don't know. The fishing one fucks with my head. It fucks with my head. I think it fucked with a lot of people's heads. Like fishing, it's in the fucking water. It's in the fucking water. Like it like that's put like you can't start a fire underwater. Like you know what? Like I don't know. It's the kind of it's a little bit. I don't know. Maybe you were like, I don't know. It's so out there. It's so out there. There's other provinces that have bigger forest fire problems and they don't do that shit. But those provinces, people also argued like they have less resources. But then I compared the resources that they have, and it was kind of like, I don't know. Like it was like, I don't know. You have to do your own research, form your own opinions. I don't know. It's an interesting times we live in. Interesting times. Like me personally, let's say it's been a scorcher of a summer, like 3 months scorcher, like dry, like no rain, like shit's looking rough outside, like forest fires have started burning like far up north, and it's like real smoky, and it's like blowing south, and it's like coming in to your town or your city or whatever. It's hard to breathe. And you're kind of like, fuck, like this fucking sucks. Like this fucking sucks. Like you'd be so fucking pissed at the next guy who started a fucking fire. You know what I mean? Like you'd be like, why the fuck are you starting fires? Why are you going like don't go like if someone's going hiking, you're less like, you better not be fucking starting a fire. Like, you know what I like when things are bad, people generally agree with it. Oh, this is another thing I wanted to poke fun at. They just kept like scaling like the price up on the fine. They were like, the fine's $5,000. Then like a week later, to show that we're serious, the fine now is $25,000. Like people are broke as shit. Like the like 5,000 and 25,000 is basically the same as saying like, oh, here's something I can never fucking pay. Here's something I can never pay. So like, I'm just going to go to jail, and however long that is equal to is what I'm going to do. So it, like at a certain point, you can say, it reminds me of like Austin Powers when like Dr. Evers like, $100 million. He's like, and then his like son's just like, why don't you just make it a fucking bajillion, numbnuts? Or like, you know what I mean? And he's just like, because at that point, the monetary penalty is irrelevant. It becomes irrelevant. It's like, you can't get blood from a stone. I can't afford that. You're never going to get that from me. You can put any number behind that. What's like, it's just going to end in jail time. And for what? Like it got really weird, right? Like it's kind of like and it's sort of, I feel like that was actually detrimental to them. Once you start making the fine so ridiculous that it's like, I'm like, no one's ever going to fucking pay that. And like, and it has the same amount of like I don't know if maybe like your inability to pay something scales with jail time, like up to like $1 million. Like how much jail time is $1 million in debt or a fine compared to like 25,000? I think it might be even the same. You know what I mean? Like it might even be the same. And it's like, I'm never going to, like, the people that are like being hit with that are like, we're all broke, can't even afford a vacation. And it's just like 5,000, 25,000, 50,000, 100,000. It might as well all $1 million. It might as well all be the same number. It's a number I will never obtain. So when you slap me with that, it's like, okay, the 5,000 and the $1 million is the exact same. It's a number I cannot afford and never will have. And it's like, it's arbitrary. And it's like, just kind of like, it doesn't seem effective. It doesn't seem, it's kind of like, oh, like at 25,000, you're financially ruining most people in this country. It's just a matter of fact. They live paycheck to paycheck, and if they have to go to jail, they lose their job. It's just, you know. And then, yeah, I don't know. Like that part kind of took me a bit. I'm like, do these people know? Like, I don't think they think, like, they're just like, oh, we're just going to up the penalty. Like that'll show them, like, that'll show that we mean business. I think they said shit like that. And it's like, dude, like when you're dealing with like the poor and the only thing they can afford is to go for a hike or to go camping in the woods because it's free, besides the gas to get there. Like, I don't know, man. Like these people are going hiking and camping because they can't afford a trip to Mexico. Like that's the other thing. Like it gets fucking weird like that. That's where my heart bleeds a little bit, because it's like people just trying to make the most of what little they have. And it's like, I happen to live in a beautiful area and I like to go hiking. And now I can't do that because I think I'm going to burn it fucking down. And there might be an asshole that fucking accidentally burns it down and says, fuck the government, I'm going to fucking let as many fires as I want. And then it's like fucking chaos. This is where we're at. This is where we are at. What else did I want to say? I thought that part was like a little bit ridiculous. I feel like there was one more point I wanted to make. I don't know. I just want to stress that, oh, yes, the point I wanted to make. It even applied to privately owned property, like property you owned. And I think I read, like, this is where you have to do your own research. If you own the property, you could walk on it, but you could not camp overnight on it, and you couldn't have friends walk on it or other people that didn't live on the property walk on it. That is a weird one. That is weird. So you don't actually own your property. Right? Like it's kind of weird. Like that one kind of bugged me. That was like, are you going to start telling me like you already have, if you live in like a subdivision in like a town, there are bylaws that sort of dictate what you can and can't do, how high you can build a structure, how far away a fire pit needs to be from a combustible structure, if you can or can't have chickens, like, and then there's like, you have to go buy like a rural property. And chances are if you have bush on your property, it's a rural property. And there's usually far less bylaws and restrictions on rural properties because you're not close to anyone or anything to interfere with their, way of life. Or you're not disturbing other people's way of life. It becomes very strange. It's like, you're telling me I can't have people walk on my property. You're telling me, like, where could they draw the line? Like, is there a line? Like, you can't grow vegetables on your property. Like, you can't, you know what I mean? Like, you can't plant trees. Like, you're not allowed to plant trees. Like, like, where would they draw the line? Like, if they started saying shit like that, like, this is what people are concerned about too. It's kind of like, is there a line in the sand of what you can and can't do, or is there not? And it's like, if you're okay with people saying you can't let your neighbor walk on your property, are you also going to be okay with, like, I don't know what else is like, because it seems like a very weird and unprecedented thing. It seems like a weird and unprecedented thing to happen. It's a big one. I don't know. I think people are worried about it, right? That's what makes people worried about it. Like, people just see, like, kind of like, they're seeing, it's weird. We're seeing, Canada is a weird place to look at because you see an increase in freedoms and a decrease in freedoms at the same time. So they've had a liberal government for over a decade now, I think. And within that time, they legalized marijuana. So when I see that, I say, oh, that's an increase in freedom. Then they ban all handguns. Whatever your position is on that, whatever. That's a restriction of freedom. Most gun owners are law abiding, and they had their guns taken away, so they lost the freedom of sportsman shooting, like going to like the Olympics for firearms or whatever. They lost the ability to participate in competitions like that. That's like a recreational freedom that was taken away. So you're like, okay, that's another one. Then you're seeing like, well, okay, we're going to give people the freedom to make the choice of doctor-assisted suicide. Okay, that's a freedom to decide what to do with your life if you don't want to live anymore. That's okay. I'm not saying that's okay. I'm just saying, like, if you were to like pile these into freedom or not freedom, whatever, it's like, okay, that's one. But then it's like lockdowns or banning things like hiking. It's like, that's a restriction of freedom. And it kind of goes like back and forth between these things where it's like, and then they do criminalize, I think, like a lot of drugs. You see like these sort of like safe use clinics for like fentanyl and stuff like that. And you're saying, okay, well, that's an increase in freedom. People have the freedom to now do drugs safely. And and I know a lot of you people probably don't agree with it, right? But it's like, if we're to hedge things into like freedom and not freedom, like in the terms of like you have the ability to do it and not be penalized or restricted by the government, that's kind of where it falls. And it kind of flip-flops on these two things. And it's weird. And this is where like the sort of like philosophical discussion comes in, right? It's like there are people who are libertarians, and when I say libertarian, I don't mean liberals. I mean people that believe in the most amount of freedoms for the most amount of people. Libertarians, and I'm generally libertarian myself, but now things are getting so in the weeds. They're getting so in the weeds. I believe in the most amount of freedoms for most people. When I say that statement like that, without any conjecture followed by it, most people will go, well, I agree. Yeah, like that sounds good. Because when you say that, a lot of your beliefs are affirmed, right? Like whatever side of the political spectrum you're on, both sides have things they want. One side wants guns, one side wants like something else, right? And it's just like people want the freedom to choose. But then the other side doesn't want the other side to have that free. Like it's very weird. So the libertarians are kind of like always like this like middle party that's kind of like that support both things, both parties wanting their freedoms, and then they're kind of shunned by both parties because it gets convoluted, and then it gets even convoluted even more. Like, so I'm Christian, and then I have Christian beliefs. But I can sort of separate my Christian beliefs from, which is like personal to me, and I don't project it onto anyone else and saying they should live a Christian life, but I think they should. Like, personally, I think they should, but I'm not going to like force someone to live it like that. That's where like it's different, right? Like I'm not going to force someone or be like, you have to follow what I believe. Like, I feel like that's almost like, that's like not Christian in of itself, because you can't, you can't like, people either, like the thing is like, you either come to God or you don't. And you can kind of just say like, this is what I believe, like this is how I follow, this is why. If they choose to go that way, that's like the free will thing. Like you have to have the free will. If you don't have the free will, then you don't. If you're being forced to do something or compelled to do something, it's not of your own free will. So it's kind of weird that way. I don't know. So I can separate my political ideology from my Christian theology, and I can say, I can remove my bias and say, okay, like bygones be bygones. No one's going to believe everything I believe. So how are we going to hedge this out? Is it just most amount of freedoms for most amount of people? Are we going to follow religion? Are we going to not follow religion? Or is it just going to be like, we're going to pick and choose what freedoms we want and don't want, and we're just going to argue over them instead of just being like, boom, like let the dice land where they may. It's an interesting thing. It gets super, 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 super convoluted. And I don't have the answers. I don't think so. I don't know. It gets weird. It gets fucking so weird, man. It gets so weird. Like, when, like, what's an easy one? Like, okay, I don't think drug use is a good thing. But do I believe if you so choose to live your life in that style, should you have the freedom to do so if you want it? Why would you want to? Doesn't make sense to me. Doesn't make sense to most people, but clearly there are people that do. And then there's people that say they wouldn't live like that if they had some sort of self-control or control over the addiction. And it's out of their control and they don't want it to happen. And then maybe there's some people that just fucking love it anyway. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can't generalize and paint broad strokes for all of those people. So it gets kind of lost in the sauce, right? It's like, where do you draw the line? You either say this is good, this is bad. And that's basically what happens, right? You just form an opinion like this is bad. Like, but people used to say that about alcohol, right? They used to be like, alcohol, that's bad. Prohibition, tobacco, bad, ban it. Marijuana, illegal. Like, it's a weird fucking thing, man. And you can just look at the effects of drugs and you can base it off of base and say, oh no, like no one's functioning on that. Like, you know what? People like to just have black and white, like drawn lines where it's like drugs, bad. They don't want to kind of like hedge through and go, this drug's okay, that drug's okay, this drug's not okay because of this and that and that. It's really fucking complex. I'm really off the rails and I'm far away from nature and outdoors. Welcome to the hour-long podcast of the Ironbark Podcast. Now I'm just yapping. I'm a fucking professional yapper, bud. Welcome to the fucking yap show. Welcome to the fucking yapski, the fucking yapperoni, the yapperoni and cheese, the yaptastic, yappity-doo, yappity-doo-dah, the yapper, yangle swoggle. I don't know. Oh, man, oh man, oh man. This is where we're at, folks. I don't know what to tell you. It's just kind of shitty, right? Like, you're probably listening to this and you're kind of like, oh, fuck, he made some points. Ah, fuck, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. It's kind of like, it just kind of goes both ways. You can kind of, it doesn't really go both ways. You have an opinion based off of your perspective and outlook on life and society and how it should be. And you either agree with it or you don't. And that's just the fucking nature of the beast. It's sort of the nature of this dichotomy politics where it's just like, you know, the left and the right. And Canada actually has a cool system where they have more than two parties, but the other parties just kind of form coalitions where, so then it just basically just becomes like a bunch of left-wing parties versus a bunch of right-wing parties, or sometimes it's just like one right-wing party and then like a bunch of left-wing parties, and it gets super, I don't know, it's like it still gets lost in sauce. It's like I feel like the political parties should have to follow parameters. There should be like a guideline to like where their stances are. Like it should almost be like there should be like an arbiter outside of the political parties, and the political parties shouldn't be allowed to like really morph and mend their positions on things. They can only do it like once a year or something. It's like, okay, this is our fucking stance on this. We're firm on it. Boom, 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 plugged it in. Okay, this party over here. This is our position on this. Boom, 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 plug it in. This is our stance on this. Boom, 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 plug it in. This is our stance on this. Boom, boom, boom. You get like 6 of them. And you say, here's 6 completely different parties. Some of them have a little bit of overlap, but they don't all agree on the same topics, on the big, I don't know, how many big topics are there? Like guns, drugs, healthcare, education, and then like civil like stuff. And it's just, and you can just, that's like 5. You could probably like break them down to even like 10. There's probably like a lot of hot topics out there. And then you could just be like, look at them. None of them have the exact same answers to all these things. They all have slightly different things. Maybe feel something about that way. And that's how it should kind of like be based on. And then you know, it's like a restart kind of. Like we're going to get rid of the traditional liberal, conservative, blah, blah, blah. We're going to have a new election and we're going to have like this new thing. And now you're going to vote for this locked in stance. And this is how this is going to happen. And then when you have these 6 parties, and because there's some overlap, if like the majority of the overlappers like win, then that's like how that topic is hashed out. But because you still should protect the rights of the people with the minority viewpoint, you kind of make like some sort of like concession where their perspective on things is still, you know, they still get like a happy median somehow. They get like thrown a bone somehow. I don't know. Why am I talking about politics? This is a political podcast now. This is a political one, guys. I'm probably going to lose like all my listeners. Like no one's going to be like, people that are right wing are going to be like, fuck this guy. And people that are left wing are going to be like, fuck this guy. No, I don't know. Maybe I make sense. Maybe I make some sense. I don't fucking know. I don't even know anymore, man. Like sometimes when I do these podcasts, I'm like talking, and as I go, I convince myself of the other way, and I convince myself or reconvince myself, and I'm just like, fuck, I don't know. Like, I don't fucking know. Nobody knows. Like, I don't think people should have, I think like you should have like freedom of autonomy to decide whether I want to take risks. It's cold out, it's minus 40, but I'm still going to go walk across that, you know, that ice covered lake, because this is my recreational activity, and I know there's risks associated with it, but I've taken precautions to manage those risks where I can come out successfully and still have an enjoyable time. And I feel like when things are like dictated to me, then it's also like, well, you need a license for this, and we need to make sure you have this kind of training and this kind of equipment. Then it's kind of like, and I'm just being taxed all hell for like just to go outside and have fun. Like it just becomes weird. It's like, I don't know. You should kind of have the choice whether you live or die, which you do when it comes to doctors as suicide, but you don't when it comes to the outdoors. It's interesting. I don't know. It's a weird one. Everything is weird. Nothing makes sense anymore. Nothing adds up. Like you can't like even have like a flow of logic. You can't just be like, this is my position on this, and because this is my position on this is how I'm going to feel about this topic. Unless you're libertarian, because then you're just like blanket, like, oh, if it's freedom, it's good. But if you're left or right, you're picking and choosing what freedoms you do like and which ones you don't like. It's a weird thing. Maybe that's what it's always been like. Maybe that's all of history. It's just like the imposition of one else's beliefs onto another. Like, why can't, and why does it always have to be like why can't there just be like a liberal super state, or like a conservative super state, or like a libertarian super state, like a middle super, like why can't there just be like that? Why does every place have to be like divided? And why is it always like liberals are generally in the cities, and then the rurals are generally conservative. Like, isn't that like a weird like breakup of like how things like how voting usually goes? Like, what causes that? Like, it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing. People say, well, because they're more educated, or it's because they want more, whatever. I don't know. No one knows anymore. I don't know. I'm tired. I'm real tired, guys. I've been doing this for about an hour now, and I really didn't know if I wanted to do this podcast or not because it was going to be super political. But here we are. I feel icky after doing this. I don't feel good about it. This feels icky. It feels gross. It feels nasty and disgusting. I hate politics. Let's talk about fucking let's talk about bears. Let's talk about fucking deer. Not fucking deer, but like, you know what I mean? And with that, we're going to end the podcast. You stay beautiful, San Diego.